Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions regarding this watch. Today, a memorable and unusual Breitling Navitimer. This is the 2004 model year 250-piece limited edition Breitling Navitimer Heritage. Now, the Navitimer Heritage line as a whole ran from 01 to 07 and included a case that is not recognizably that of a classic Navitimer, with an unusual application of a full integrated version of the 7-link Navitimer bracelet. This version, the limited edition, has a twin register dial with an anthracite center. This is number 100 of 250, and a little bit like the old Rolex Oyster Quartz that had integrated bracelets, whereas normally you have a stamp indicating the week and year of manufacture between the lugs of a Breitling case. Here, because the integration of the bracelet, you can actually see that this was made in the 23rd week of 2004, and that almost always matches the stamp that is on the bracelet right here. And you can see this bracelet was made the 16th week of 2004. So that's how you can tell that. Taking a quick look at the size of the thing, it is rather substantial, 43 millimeters in diameter. I measure it 15.3 millimeters thick and 41.7 from lug to lug. And yes, the integration means that lug to lug is the total distance across the wrist. We'll throw it on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, taking a look at 51.7 across my wrist. The watch, of course, is a lefty, which makes it even more unusual, as the standard Navitimer Heritage is not a twin register lefty. The watch wears well, and I have to emphasize this is ambidextrous. Even though the crown is on the left-hand side, nevertheless, it's not digging or gouging my wrist in any way. Just like you can wear a Panerai Destro on either wrist, you can wear this no matter what your dominant hand is. Taking a look, you can see that this is probably the smallest wrist that can wear this watch. It is pushing out to the edge. It's not too big, but if my wrist were any smaller than 16, I'd need a smaller Navitimer. The integration is an unusual and memorable feature of this watch. As you can see, it tapers down from the lugs, and this version of the Navitimer bracelet you can see is tailored for this model. You can also see the unusual high drilling of the lugs all the way around. That is just something you don't see that often, where you have a drilling that's so high up it's almost on the top of the lug. And then the bracelet is all of high polish. You can see we have some removable links that are fixed in place using screws right here, and then a clamshell lock, a single fold deployant, and 4 pairs of divots drilled inside the clasp so you can change the anchoring point using your strap tool to dismount the spring bar. So that's how that works. And then we have a clamshell lock to keep it all together once you snap it down. So that's how that works. Taking a look at the case, normally Navitimers have these relatively narrow lugs with squared off ends, and so you see that's definitely not the case here. Also, Navitimers generally feature a integration of lug profile into the edge of the case, whereas these are quite obviously stepped out. Taking a quick look at the bezel, you can see that it features satin recesses within a polished bezel with a very sharp knurling that makes it easy to grip. It is a calculator bezel, and since the Navitimer debuted in the 1950s, Breitling has always touted this as the calculator bezel that allows you to perform all the calculations necessary for flight. So base 1000, but we've got this logarithmic scale here. It's a circular slide rule. It is not a complete slide rule. You know, engineers' slide rules have other scales. This one is for multiplication and division. You can see it mentions statute and nautical miles, miles per hour and kilometers, and it can be used to make calculations. We'll take a look at the reverse of the watch. Sometimes they have these calculation and conversion factor tables on the back. This one features the Breitling logo, special edition notation. Not only does it say limited to 250, it's also individually numbered. A little bit quirky. You can also see that it's 30 meters water resistant and a certified chronometer. Quick note on how you use this bezel. People ask, so I'll show you, but only after I display the luminescence. We do have a fairly well-lumed dial here, so you can read it in the dark. We've got these lovely rhodium-plated steel hands and applique numerals. A weird feature of this dial is that it says date next to the date. Seems self-evident, but okay. And then there's this scale at the center. People ask me, what are these 100 calibration scales on chronographs? That is called a decimeter scale. It is not something commonly used today, but there was a time when it was thought to be useful for certain types of technical vocations. Taking a quick look at the bezel calculator now, let's just demonstrate how this works. Let's say I want to divide 70 by 2. Well, what I do is I take 70 on the outer scale, I put it over 2 on the inner scale, just like a fraction, the number to be divided over the number dividing it. There you go. Well, oops, overshot. 70 over 2. And then I take a look at the index, which is the red 10 on the inner scale, and 70 divided by 2, you can see right there, lining them up perfectly, it's going to be 35. Now let's say I want to multiply 40 by 2. Well, I put 40 now over the index. I go back to the 2, and you can see over the 2 we have 80. So 40 times 2 is 80. You got to keep the decimals in mind if you're not dealing with things that are equivalents, like if you're dividing 8 by 2 or 800 by 20 or 800 by 0.2. You got to keep your decimals in mind there because it's not going to perform that for you. Okay, we have a anthracite sunburst center. And then we've got a twin register design where we have, let's just demonstrate how this works. We have an unusual combination of our chronograph scale, running seconds, and then center chronograph seconds. Let me just demonstrate how all this collapses. Okay, so things to note. We actually have a Breitling anchor that's acting as our counterweight to the seconds hand. It's I believe, a Dubois-Depraz module on top of an ETA 2892A2 base. So the 2892A2 is a bidirectional automatic winder that's quite thin and fine, with a 4 Hz beat rate, stop seconds functionality, a quick set date, a 42-hour power reserve, and then the DD module that sits on top of it is a vertical clutch module. So you can see that the engagement doesn't involve any extraneous motion of the seconds hand. So though it is not an integrated chronograph, it is a vertical clutch chronograph, which I consider to be a worthwhile feature. Taking another look, you can see it's a 5-position adjusted movement that is certified as a chronometer. Also note the unconventional scale used. We have the chronograph system that is effectively a running chronograph second with a 10-minute register, and that is an unusual layout for chrono. So the many unusual features of this watch: the anthracite dial with the twin register, the lefty crown, the integrated bracelet, the limited edition, and a chronograph minutes register that is quite frankly optimized for maneuvers like landings, where intervals from 5 to 10 minutes are often involved as part of the landing sequence. So that's what they're thinking right there with this model. So this is the Navitimer Heritage Limited Edition. If you love it, reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.